Good morning, 8th graders, or maybe good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. Hope you are staying warm. Today, we are going to be going over some grammar, and we're going to put our notes over giving speeches on hold. We're also going to put our hiding place discussion on hold. And instead of just discussing chapters 2 and 3 when we get back, we're going to have the reading assignment that's on end grade, chapter 4, and we will discuss 2 through 4 when you come back on Thursday. For now, you need to be on page 57 and 58 in your books, so pause the video if you need to, and go ahead and get out your blue workbooks. When you're ready, you can begin filling in the notes, tracking along with me. At any point, if you get confused, pause the video, just rewind a little bit, re-listen to what I say. I'll try to be as clear as I can, knowing that I don't have the overhead projector with me. I can't keep throwing the book up in front of me all the time. So we're talking about pronouns. This unit is going to go alongside of the hiding place of learning the speech stuff, trying to multitask. So these will be our beginning bell work assignments like we've done with active voice and some of the other grammar units. So our definition here, subject pronouns are pronouns that are used in the subject of the sentence. So that's your first blank there is the word subject. We have some little boxes there. Singular subject pronouns, examples of those are he, she, it, and I. Again, pause if you need to fill those in. And the plural subject pronouns are we and they. We and they. All of this is stuff that you know. We're just starting to categorize it to make sure in our writing we're communicating clearly and not making those little mistakes that look glaring when they're on paper in an email to a boss or in a report that you're giving in front of a number of people. So we use one of these subject pronouns when the pronoun functions as the subject of a sentence or clause. So our first example sentence there, Mitsuko and I, okay, we're using I there in the subject, are designing a time capsule to go back to ancient Japan. Hashtag goals. Okay, we, another subject pronoun, will present our design to the student council. What are we talking about? We, okay, we are the ones doing the action. Will present is the verb. The third one, Eloise, James, and I, okay, I is what you fill in there, think that you should become a circus clown. These are friends who help you succeed in life, Eloise and James. So to double check, anytime you are working with a sentence that has compound subjects like Eloise, James, and I, take out the parts of the subject that already are named. So if we take out Eloise, take out James, we would say, I think you should become a circus clown, not me think you should become a circus clown. That doesn't sound very smart and won't be convincing in your argument to make them a circus clown. So step by step, just like I said, to decide which pronoun to use, say the sentence with just a pronoun. Fantasia and me or I want to borrow a CD. We don't say me want to borrow a CD. We say I want to borrow a CD. Okay. You can also use the pronoun that sounds right in a compound subject. Okay, I want to borrow a CD. You don't have to fill in that blank there if you don't want to. Moving on to predicate nominative. It may have been a while since you've thought about this, and the last time you did thought about it, you were probably hoping you'd never have to think about it again, but you do, because language builds on itself, okay? So here is your definition. A predicate nominative, or PN, is a noun or pronoun that renames the subject, okay? So that's the word there, predicate. It's in the predicate of the sentence. Nominative, we remember from our Greek and Latin roots last year in 7th grade, if you had me, nomen means name. So it's something that renames the subject. It's just in the predicate of the sentence. Okay? And you have a second blank there. It requires a subject pronoun. Now this is going to go against everything we say in our sloppy use of English today. But it's the truth. It's what's proper. Because remember, if you have a predicate nominative, you have your subject and the predicate nominative, and it's linked by a linking verb. And it's almost like, the little fulcrum on a seesaw. You should be able to flip it around, and it still makes sense when you read it backwards. Okay? So if we look at the examples, the team members are Mitsuko, Joe Bob, and I. Okay? That linking verb are there, if you circle that, okay, you should be able to take the sentence and flip it, and it should still make sense. That's what that blank is there for. Okay, you don't have to write it down if you don't want to, but it should be able to flip it and write down Mitsuko, Joe, Bob, and I are the team members. Okay, same thing with the second sentence there. The persons in charge of the project are, circle that, there's our linking verb, Kevin and she. We should be able to flip that and say Kevin and she are the persons, there's our predicate nominative that's renaming Kevin and she, in charge of the project, okay? Now your writing hint down there points out, if someone asks, who is there, you'd probably answer, it's me, okay? So when your mom's like, hey, who's there? You don't say, it is I. Maybe you do. Maybe you have that kind of a personality. I kind of did, and I still kind of do. But in speeches, essays, and formal papers, be sure to use that subject pronoun. Use it correctly, okay? If we're writing something that is fiction and you're trying to be true to how someone would actually speak, it's fine to say it's me. Formal stuff, use that predicate nominative with the subject pronoun. So there's your notes for page 57. Flip to page 58. Here's the other side of it, object pronouns. Okay, here's your definition. Object pronouns are used when the pronoun functions as the direct object, little parentheses there is DO, and the indirect object, IO. So your two blanks there are direct object and indirect object. Pause if you need to fill those in. Our little pronoun boxes there, singular object pronouns are basically the object opposites of what were in the subject boxes. So instead of she, it's her, him, it, me. Okay, and then the plural object pronouns are us and them. Here's some more notes. Just to remind you, a direct object, here's the blank, receives the action of the verb. It receives the action of the verb. So that was the lesson where I was taking things and throwing them around the room, most clearly the pen, okay? I throw the pen. Okay, I am the subject, throw is the verb, the pen is receiving that object, the action of the verb, sorry. It is the direct object, okay? The indirect object answers the questions, here's your blanks, to whom, for whom, to what, or for what. Pause if you need to write that down after the action verb. We have two example sentences there. The first one I don't think will be actually helpful to you. So I want you to cross out, Jan told Derek and me about her new curling iron. We're just not going to worry about that one because I don't think it's going to help you. But if we look at that second one, okay, the sentence is, she showed us several of her favorite styling techniques. The first thing I want you to do is find that prepositional phrase, of her favorite styling techniques. Cross that out so we're not confused by the words there. Crossing out of her favorite styling techniques. Then we're left with, she showed us several. There's an S in all four of those words. It's kind of like a tongue twister. Our subject is she. The verb is showed. And you have to ask yourself, she showed what? Several. Okay, several is our answer. So that is the direct object. Put a little D-O above several. She showed several to whom? Us, okay? And so us is our I-O, and that's why it has to be us instead of we. And that's why we use that. Again, this comes naturally for the most part. I just want you to see it so that when mistakes happen and I point these things out in your communication, you understand what I'm talking about. Last part of the notes there, it says use an object pronoun when the pronoun is, here's your blank, is inside a prepositional phrase. Is inside a prepositional phrase because it's the OOP, object of preposition. It's even in the name there, object. It's going to have an object pronoun because it's the OOP, object of the prepositional phrase. So if we look at the first sentence, one of Gerald's pigeons delivered a message to Anna and me. I hope you have a friend like Gerald who actually still communicates via pigeon, but not on a day like today because the pigeon would die. It's so cold out there. So our subject is one. Put a little s above one. Of Gerald's is our first prepositional phrase, and there's no pronouns in there, so we don't need to even look at that right now. Of Gerald's pigeon, sorry. That whole thing there. What's our verb? Delivered. Put a little V above delivered. Delivered what? A message. There's our direct object. There is no indirect object here. Okay? The indirect object cannot be inside a prepositional phrase, and it will always come smack dab in the middle of your verb and your direct object. Nothing there. We have instead the prepositional phrase to Anna and me. We don't say to Anna and I again because this is the OOP. It's finishing it out. It's an object. So that's why we use me. And it doesn't matter where the prepositional phrase is in the sentence. If you look at the next example, for Gerald and us, for Gerald and us is your prepositional phrase. Okay, for is the preposition, and then Gerald and us is the compound OOP. Okay, so we don't say for Gerald and we say for Gerald and us. The pigeons arrive faster than mail. So if we look at the ones where you actually have to choose, this argument is between you and I is what we tend to say because we're used to putting those words together, you and I, okay? But in this case, between is the preposition. So this is inside a prepositional phrase, between you and me, okay? And then the last one there, this big bungee cord is for, there's our preposition, Carla and him, okay? Object pronoun ending out that prepositional phrase. Okay, same thing we did for subject pronouns. It says right there, use the step-by-step method. Take out the extra name and ask yourself, would you say for he or would you say for him? And that kind of helps you because our brains work better when we don't have multiple names in the way to make us confused, okay? Your homework is to finish, okay, these sentences at the bottom of page 58. So please do 1 through 7 on the bottom of your notes page, and I'm going to check that when we get back on Thursday. You are also going to have the spelling test due on Thursday. If for some reason the heater is still not working at Castleview and we are still at home, I'm going to have your parents give you that spelling test so we can stay on track. Please read chapter 4 of The Hiding Place. Complete your study questions. So I will look at your work on page 58, chapters 2, 3, and 4 of The Hiding Place when you come back, and we'll continue with our speech notes on Thursday. Until then,